last 3 games, 23 points over his last 3 games. The average, he's shooting almost 66% from the field in that span. The foul for Indiana was on Robert Johnson, his first. And it's a 1-point game.
Nebraska really extending themselves defensively, trying to run Indiana off the 3-point line, and it succeeds there.
Second turnover, active hands from Jacobson. Now Evan Taylor, junior college transfer. Began his career at Sanford, Sean, and then went to Odessa Junior College.
And this is an area where Webster, it's going to sound counterintuitive, but he needs to be more aggressive and more assertive. And in some ways, even more selfish, because he's far and away the most experienced player on this Nebraska squad. And it's not in his demeanor to be selfish and demand shots, but especially in a road game like this, in this environment, he has to hunt shots he would usually pass up.
And right on cue, we see Webster attack, and Thomas Bryant charged with his first foul. Webster's up to scoring each of the last 2 years significantly. Was at 10 points per game last year, up to 17 this year. As he knocks down the first of 2. 77% free throw shooter. Look at how important Webster has been all season long for Nebraska. Points, assists, steals, you name it. Can't hit the second. Johnson the rebound. Here's Newkirk. He's forced back out.
When Nebraska making a concerted effort to run Indiana off that 3-point line. Doing a good job so far.
And Bryant underneath. Strong take. It spun out. And it's Morrow. He didn't settle for the mid-range game. He went after it.
They isolated a nice move, everything but the completion for the sophomore.
Now Webster again on the drive, and there he is.
It's you know, this is a time when selfishness does not have the negative connotation. He has to demand the ball and look to score.
Anunoby for the lead. That doesn't go. Webster has 7 of Nebraska's 9.
And you got to go right back to him. And look who they switched on him. Robert Johnson, the primary defensive stopper. Now they're going to a 2-3 zone. Trying to stem the tide and maybe take away some of that dribble penetration and force Nebraska, which is dead last in the conference in 3-point field goal percentage, to beat them from deep.
Shot clock is under 10. This is Jacobson at the elbow. Good skip pass off the fake. Watson outside the free throw line. No, but there's Morrow for the tap.
Good job by Jacobson of getting in the gut of that defense and then looking weak side. Watson not able to convert, but you've got to put a body on Morrow, whether it's in the man-to-man or the zone. That's his 4th offensive rebound thus far.
Terrific start for Nebraska. The lead is 4. Just over 4 minutes gone by. Blackman cut off by Webster, and a turnover. He walked.
Good defense by Webster, good help by Watson, but it's been in the offensive end of the floor that the senior from New Zealand has made the most impact for Nebraska thus far. You don't close out under control, he'll get to the rim and complete. Nebraska gets
far away, Sean, from 2017. What about some New Year wishes for the Hoosiers?
Well, for Indiana, taking care of the basketball is going to be really important. They're -4 in the turnover margin on the year. They're also -4 right now, so taking care of the basketball is going to be very important. And get the ball inside to Thomas Bryant when you need a basket. They can score from beyond the arc. They've shown that. When you need a basket to stem the tide, make sure you don't forget the big fella down low.
Jordy Chimanga is checked in for Nebraska, battling with Thomas Bryant inside. Jacobson trying to find him instead. Under 10 for Webster back up top. Now Webster with 4, has to create. Contested 3 up top. And Johnson the rebound.
Good defensive sequence by Indiana.
Now Johnson will pull up, and that one rattles in.
And a really nice job by Johnson in the open floor. He understood that he had the big fella Chimanga, the freshman, backpedaling, and took advantage.
With the left hand, Chimanga no. As Nebraska got up the floor quickly, and Tim Miles told us today that we do want to run at times. Newkirk with an air ball on the layup attempt, and now it's Webster. Jacobson up top for 3. And that's been a struggle all season long. Not just Jacobson, but the entire team. Nebraska's not shot the ball well from 3.
Next to last in 8 threes per ball game at 5. We've already talked about it. Only 29% conversion rate from behind the arc on the year. Last in the conference.
Taylor last to touch it. It'll stay with Indiana. 18 to shoot. Ron Davis, freshman from Aurora, Colorado, checks in for the first time as Bryant will sit. Also Curtis Jones on the floor for the first time with the ball right now. Newkirk departs. Jones averaging 6 points per game. And now it's Blackman. A whistle away from the ball. And a whistle against Nebraska. The shot clock at 7. It's going to be on Chimanga, the freshman from Montreal.
Yeah, they tried to get a little bit of rest for Morrow. This is a big period for Nebraska with Morrow on the bench. Chimanga trying to eat some minutes. And Horn, who really played well for Nebraska, in off the bench right now.
Horn, number 2 in red. Strong game against Southern last Tuesday. Johnson, tough shot. He knocks down the 3.
That kid just gets overlooked. He goes about his business so quietly, but very efficient offensively. An underrated defender, can guard multiple positions. I think he's as important to Indiana's success as anyone on this squad.
Johnson with 7 of Indiana's 12. Morrow in trouble. And now it's Watson. He'll pull up, and he knocks it down.
How about the crossover, getting down low and splitting the double team by the sophomore Watson? Nicely done.
Glenn Watson with 4. Deep 3. Johnson, no. And here comes Nebraska. Webster crosses over Jones. It's Watson, open look for 3, and Watson buries it, and Nebraska leads by 4. Watson has 7.
Nice job by Webster in transition of getting it to Watson, where it led him right into a shooting motion.
Blackman up top, answers. Hitting 46% of his three-point attempts. Blackman has 5.
And even though he was about 4 feet beyond the three-point line, if you're Watson, you have to come up hands up, or he's going to use your head as a gun sight and hit bullseye.
Indiana 2 of 5 from 3 so far tonight. Nebraska 1 of 3. There is Horn. Mentioned his name a moment ago. Uriah Horn, 18 points, a career high against Southern last Tuesday.
Also 4-6 from deep in that game.
Davis couldn't answer inside with the right hand. And this is Isaiah Roby, freshman that may see some time at point. Anton Gill out for the season. You see Roby on point from time to time, but for the time being, it's Watson. Chimanga couldn't hang on, but neither could Morgan. And it'll stay with Nebraska leading by 3.
With Uriah Horn coming off an outstanding performance last time versus Southern, they needed all of his 18 points, 4 of 6 from deep. And Corey, that's why he's our Motel 6 player of the game.
6'7" freshman from Overland Park, Kansas, 222 pounds. And this is Roby against Blackman. And he got it to go. He lowered the shoulder and stayed aggressive.
Yeah, and that was a tough job to try to pick up the rim because he was not on balance.
And Anobi blocked by Morrow. What a block there from Morrow as Nebraska got back defensively. Roby, Morrow with the right hand, it goes. Roby with 4. The lead is 7.
And the bench has produced admirably for Nebraska. You had to feel that Indiana certainly had the advantage in terms of depth to which they could go. But right now, Nebraska's bench has given them not just minutes, they're giving them quality minutes on both ends of the floor. Defensively, very active. That defense, the block shot, leads to transition. Roby, the freshman, finding the sophomore Morrow, and Nebraska up a touchdown in Bloomington.
Foster Farms Bowl as Tom Allen makes his head coaching debut with Indiana. 8:30 Eastern only on Fox. And for those here tonight at Assembly Hall, you're invited to stick around. Can watch that game on the big video screens right above the playing floor. Coverage begins at 8 Eastern on Fox. The game will kick off around 8:30 Eastern time. Out of the Indiana timeout. Nebraska by 7, its largest lead so far tonight. This is Anunoby.
What a move. And I like the set. I like going inside.
Still loose, and finally it's Morrow. No wait for help, it's Watson. This is Horn for 3.
Boy, this doesn't look like a team that came in shooting 29% from deep.
And this crowd stunned so far. It's a 9-0 Nebraska run.
And that's 2 made threes thus far for Nebraska. They average only 5 makes per ball game.
And the number for Nebraska is 6. Anunoby challenged and a whistle and a foul. As we go back to the Nebraska possession a moment ago.
They have just been around every loose ball. They kicked it ahead. Not necessarily a thing of beauty, but Morrow waits for Watson, then the kickoff, and you got to close out under control with hands up. That was a problem against teams like Butler. They were in pretty good position, Corey, but when their hands are down and you allow an unimpeded view of the rim, a guy like Horn can make you pay.
Ty Webster back on the floor for Nebraska. Webster off to a strong start, 7 points so far. Just to finish up that thought, the foul, by the way, was on Isaiah Roby. When Nebraska hits at least 6 threes in a game, they're 6-1. The only loss in that stretch to UCLA. When they hit 5 or less, 0-5. Bryant will try from deep. Webster goes high for the rebound. Horn again. And right in front of the Indiana bench. Horn's knocked down 2 threes. He has 8. And Nebraska's made its last 7. The lead is 12.
And Nebraska going with a little bit of a matchup look here. Kind of disguise it as a 2-3. Now they're going to a little bit of a matchup, giving Indiana a different look defensively.
Bounce inside Bryant.
What a beautiful pass. You led the post player, Bryant, right into a shooting motion where all he had to do was catch and complete. An excellent post feed. And Indiana, because of the three-point shooting now, they're getting a little bit of a different look, but they're trying to talk Horn through a 2-3 zone look right now for Indiana.
Under 10 for Watson.
Well, this is where Webster just has to make a play.
Extra pass in the corner. Taylor will fire with 3 to shoot. And a strong defensive stand for Indiana. Bryant the rebound.
Yeah, stagnant offensively was Nebraska there. They didn't penetrate either via the pass or dribble drive.
Johnson swings it out. Newkirk. Off the Bryant screen. A good look from the foul line. And Anobi for the rebound. He falls down. It's knocked out. Last touch by Nebraska.
Even though he wasn't able to convert, how about the athleticism displayed by Anunoby? I mean, he comes from the weak side, and he's kind of favoring that. You know, he had an ankle injury earlier. Watch Anunoby. I mean, he doesn't have a running start. He's just not able to kind of corral and go up very strongly because he didn't land squarely. But what an athletic play by Anunoby, and he's kind of gimpy coming off. Yeah, I think he landed awkwardly down there on that rebound attempt.
Well, you mentioned he missed 3 games with an ankle injury that happened here in the win against North Carolina. Came back in the loss to Butler. So Juwan Morgan back on the floor. We'll be following that as Anunoby heads out. Newkirk underneath. Somehow found some space.
And a really good seal by Deron Davis, number 20 for Indiana. He sealed off the weak side help. Headsy play right there to allow the path to the rim via the dribble drive.
Webster. On to Jacobson. This is Watson. At 3, no. Chamenga kept the play alive. The rebound. Webster had it blocked. Chamenga, though, stuck with it.
Boy, Nebraska just yeoman work on the offensive glass thus far.
Juwan Morgan open for 3. Position inside Davis and a foul.
Boy, Davis has given them a nice lift since he checked in. He's going to shoot a couple here, kept the ball up high on the offensive rebound, and then moments ago, Anunoby had to go to the bench after he landed awkwardly on a rebounding situation, and we're going back to the locker room to take a look at that. But Davis, since he's been in the ball game, has given a spark to Indiana, not just with this sequence, but also riding his defender up the lane a couple possessions ago to allow the dribble drive.
Ron Davis, 6'10", 240. Shooting 2. 71% free throw shooter. And now Anunoby is back on the floor. Robert Johnson come out. James Blackman Jr. takes his spot. Second one here for Davis.
In Nebraska right now, this is a situation, we talked about it earlier, where Webster has to come and demand the basketball. He has to make sure that he doesn't hide over here in the corner.
Chamenga inside. And a walk. That's the first turnover tonight against Tim Miles' team. Newkirk all the way. Might have been partially blocked by Chimanga. The loose ball comes to Davis. He got hit, but play continues. And now Webster, is he going to challenge Blackman? He will. It was pinned off the glass, and now Blackman. Blackman pulls up for three. Got his own rebound.
What a great defensive play. I believe that was Morgan that came in and erased that opportunity at the rim for Webster. And for a while, Indiana was only 4 offensive players, with Morgan not able to land cleanly, but Nebraska hanging around and then some, up 8 in Bloomington.
Let's take a look at our Quicken Loans amazing performance. And you look at yesterday's results. Scotty Lindsey 31 as Northwestern won at Penn State. Nigel Hayes and the Badgers beat Rutgers and Madison. Mello Trimble and the Terrapins wallop Illinois in College Park. And what a game it was late last night in the Twin Cities. Alvin Ellis III, a career best 20 points. Nick Ward was tremendous as Michigan State erased a 14-point second-half deficit to win by 1 in OT.
When Reggie Lynch got in foul trouble, that was really big situation for Minnesota. Nick Ward able to take advantage of that. You saw Scotty Lindsey. He, along with Vic Law, formed the most athletic wing combination in recent memory, maybe ever, for Northwestern. I would put them in the top 3 in that category in the Big Ten. Long, rangy, can each score. And Nigel Hayes, you saw 20 points, 10 of 10 coming from the foul line. And Mello Trimble, the beneficiary of a freshman addition in the form of Anthony Cowan, allowing him to play off the ball for extended periods.
So Indiana began 3 of 4. And struggled since with the ball down 8. 7:20 to play in the first half. And Anobi remains on the bench. It's Blackman with 7. Now McRoberts. The handoff to Blackman, a fadeaway 3 from the wing. And Chimanga tapped it out to Webster. And he got hit high. I think they're going to get Davis with the foul.
And that was just a rare example because you had so many players that have not started that were on the floor at the same time. That was a rare example, Corey, in the most recent offensive possession for Indiana, of poor spacing. You had 3 white jerseys kind of congregated on the left side of the floor. They didn't reverse it. As a result, it made it easier for the defense to recover in that situation.
First foul on Davis, 3rd team foul on Indiana. As Evan Taylor driving out Blackman, has rejected the first foul by Blackman.
We talked about the job that Deron Davis did in terms of sealing off the weak side help. Here, Chimanga does the same thing for Nebraska. He gets the defender on his hip, kind of rides him up the lane, and that allowed his teammates to turn the corner. Even though he wasn't able to convert, they'll still retain possession.
Foul was before the shot, so Nebraska will inbound. Underneath its own basket. And a tough pass, and Bryant, great hands. It's a 2-on-1. There's the feed to Newkirk. How about Bryant looking like a point guard up the floor?
And not only was he was dribbling with his head up and able to put the ball on the floor with his left hand. And this is a crowd that understands good basketball. That was sound, fundamental basketball on both ends of the floor by Thomas Bryant.
And Bryant's a guy that plays with so much emotion now. A turnover. Blackman will pull it back out. And now Blackman, the kick to Newkirk. He got his man up. The floater from the baseline. No. Morgan trying for the rebound, and it's knocked out. It's going to stay with Indiana.
And you see why Indiana leads not just the conference, but the country in rebounding margin. This is off a steal by Thomas Bryant. That guy's 6'10", 6'11". Not is he just dribbling, he's dribbling with his off or left hand. Look where his eyes are. That's why the ball has air and is round. You know it's going to bounce back up. And so many times you see guys dribbling with their head down. Not so by Bryant.
5th turnover, McRoberts with the walk.
And right now, if I'm the Nebraska Cornhuskers, I'm going to be very disappointed if someone other than Ty Webster, number 0, takes a shot. he hasn't been able to get into the offensive flow here recently. And right now, Indiana is starting to creep back in. They're making the effort plays, the hustle plays. Webster needs to go and demand the ball once they get down here and situated offensively.
When you say Webster, you want him to have a shot on this trip. You want him to shoot or just drive?
I want him to drive and attack. That's what paid dividends early.
Webster's last bucket came with 15:55 to play in the first half. Watson, no. There for the tap, though, is Michael Jacobson.
And Webster essentially served as a decoy there. Morgan was face guarding him in the corner, so they were playing 4-on-4 offensively.
Another Indiana turnover. And Webster in transition had it poked free from behind, but first Johnson whistled for a foul. Second on Johnson, and the team's fifth. Indiana 6 turnovers as a team as Johnson charged with his second foul.
Right now, if you're Indiana's defensively, the most dangerous guy is the trigger man, Webster. You have to be cognizant of him stepping in and trying to get the ball right back.
And with the hot hand early, too, Sean.
And Anunoby has none of it. It's good for Indiana that he's back in the ball game. And look at Anunoby. He's all the way out, trying to deny Webster, now sinking back in, and they switch off.
And Watson Jr. They'll lob it inside. What a pass, but Morrow couldn't finish. A no-look lob.
That was an incredible delivery by Watson.
Now Newkirk. He lost it. Thought he got fouled. No whistle. And still pleading his case as Tom Crean paces in front of the Indiana bench.
Watch Watson get down low, make excellent eye contact, and he throws the defender with a ball fake, and unfortunately for the Cornhuskers, Morrow just not able to convert, but a beautiful delivery by the sophomore Glenn Watson. And again, the zone defense being employed right now. That high post where Jacobson sets up shop, that's exactly where you need to be. But they got to reverse the basketball because the zone wants to keep you on one side of the floor.
Webster for 3, and too strong, and Newkirk the rebound. Now Devontae Green, they give to Bryant. Lost it, got it back. Johnson open for 3.
Nice look weak side by Bryant. His initial offering was blocked, but he maintained his composure. Then he looked weak side. That allowed Johnson to step into that three-point shot. And right now, if you're Nebraska, you have to utilize that high post and then look weak side for the kick.
Johnson 2 threes, a game-high 10. Nebraska's lead trimmed to 5. Indiana fans on their feet, and now a walk as Webster turns it over. The 4th Nebraska turnover.
And that zone defense has paid dividends there with a turnover, but a couple possessions ago they kept Nebraska exclusively on the left side of the floor, so the Hoosiers only had to defend half of their defensive real estate.
So Tom Crean electing to keep Johnson on the floor with his 2 fouls. Still has 10 points. Here's Anunoby. Guarded by Horn. Now Johnson, this is for 2. Offensive rebound. Anunoby inside, double teamed. And they swing it back up to Johnson.
Nice look, nice pass.
Johnson again.
What a beautiful pass by Davis. Davis has been significant off the bench. The stats may not show it, but his hustle plays and court awareness have paid dividends for the Indiana Hoosiers. Beautiful pass out of the post.
Johnson at 6 threes. Last time out, already 3 in this first half. He's got 13. It's a 2-point game.
And look how stagnant this zone has made Nebraska offensively.
Oh, and Morrow's pass into traffic, but bailed out. A foul in Indiana.
And Nebraska has gotten stagnant offensively, but that has not been the case. Look at the post pass on the scramble situation by Bryant to Johnson. And then the freshman Davis saying, you know what, I'll find my junior teammate Johnson as well, who finds the bottom of the well for the 3rd time. Indiana right back in this at home.
West Lafayette, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings on BTN and BTN to go. Kevin Kugler, John Crispin will have that for you next. See, Peter Jock leads the conference in scoring, nearly 23 per game. Swanigan, what a run he is on. doing it all for Purdue. And also worth noting for Iowa, Tyler Cook expected to play later tonight for the Hawkeyes.
And in the absence of Tyler Cook, Cordell Pencil has really done a nice job down there manning the post position. And Peter Jock showing you why he decided to come back to Iowa City. More than just a standstill jump shooter. And Robert Johnson has been the production offensively, 3 of 4 from deep. But as we went to the break, that was the 3rd personal on Johnson.
So Johnson now will sit. No points the last 5:44 and counting for Nebraska. Can Webster change that? Nope, he walked.
And look at how much ground Anunoby was able to cover defensively, because there was no question that Webster was going to try to get to the rim off the dribble, and Anunoby, showing his athleticism and lateral quickness, able to keep him in front and force the turnover.
That's exactly what Tom Crean told us today about Anunoby. Defensively covers so much ground. Sophomore. Here's Anunoby. This for the lead.
You think the future's bright for that young man?
Indiana's answered back a 9-0 run. The three-point shot has been key. Johnson knocked down 2. Now Anunoby puts the Hoosiers on top by 1.
As has been this 2-3 zone defense. Nebraska has had no answer for it.
Jacobson kicks it back out to Webster. Shot clock getting late again. It's at 5, and another turnover. Watson threw it away. Newkirk, the lead for Davis, and offensive foul as Jacobson took the contact, and a charge called on Davis, his second.
And this is one where you have to know the recipient, right? I mean, you have to know the recipient of the pass. It's a bang-bang play. Could have gone either way, certainly. But if you're Newkirk, you have to understand, this is a big guy who's not used to catching the ball in that situation. You put the big fella Davis in a tough spot, and he has given you a big lift off the bench on both ends.
Now, this was the second half. Technically, that would be one you could perhaps review. A new wrinkle here for Big Ten games only. Horn can't hit the 3, and Anunoby tapped it out to Davis. Newkirk on the drive. Green for 3.
That was big time, because that's a right-handed shooter going to his left, and he had someone in a red jersey flying out at him. That was a major delivery by Green.
4 straight threes for Indiana, leading to a Nebraska timeout. Devontae Green has the Hoosier fans standing as the Hoosiers have answered back a long run, a 12-0 spurt. Indiana by 4, thanks Sean to the three-point shot.
And that's a tough shot. You saw the little rhythm dribble going to his left or offhand, and then the step-back move to make sure that he had set up shot behind the three-point arc.
Now bringing the new year with a Big Ten Conference Hoop Marathon this Sunday. Binge on BTN, presented by U.S. Cellular, begins with a tip-off show at 11:45 Eastern Time. And a great schedule of games: Nebraska, Maryland at noon, Michigan, Iowa 2:15, Purdue, Minnesota at 4:30, Illinois and Ohio State at 7, followed by the big show at 9 Eastern Time. As we enter 2017, binge on BTN, a great lineup coming up this weekend. Indiana as a team, 6 of 12 from beyond the arc so far tonight. See a 12-0 run. The Hoosiers, the top scoring team so far in the Big Ten, nearly 89 points per game. Nebraska, conversely, at the bottom to 69 points per game. And could Nebraska keep pace tonight with Indiana? That was a huge storyline at the outset.
Nice post speed. Beautiful post speed.
Better block there from Bryant. And Morgan lost it, got it back. Anunoby's pass tipped and stolen by Webster. Anunoby challenges and a foul.
You mentioned it. Excellent defensive recovery by Bryant. Shumanga will learn as this season unfolds to put your shoulder to the rim, but the senior Webster bails his young teammate out in the open floor. Good hustle by Anunoby to not give away an easy one.
first foul on Anunoby. So Webster at the line. He's been stuck on 7 points for a while. This a trip of 2 free throw attempts, and he's short on the first. As James Blackman Jr. returns, and Devontae Green will come out.
And Coach Tim Miles and Chimanga came out emphasizing, hey, put your shoulder to the rim and complete.
Nebraska led by as many as 12. Right now, Indiana by 3 with the ball. 45 seconds to play. The kick to Anunoby, and he throws it away. Newkirk with his right hand, he's telling his teammates, shoot that ball.
Because the moment he hesitated, that allowed Jacobson to recover and come out. And then Anunoby tried to get it down low, but Newkirk has a point. Anunoby can knock down that shot. Don't hesitate, just let it fly.
With Pizzo and Jess Settle standing by for the State Farm halftime report. In 35 seconds, there's a foul on Indiana. And it's going to be on Blackman, his second. This will be a 1-and-1 for Nebraska.
And with that foul, if you're Nebraska now, if you're able to convert these foul shots, there's a 5-second difference between shot and game clock. So if you do your job defensively and clean up on the defensive glass, you may have a chance to go for kind of a late situation here, 2 for 1, if you make these free throws.
A 1-and-1 for Ty Webster. And he can't hit, but Jacobson the offensive rebound. And the bounce pass inside was kicked.
Yeah. And right now, all that I just said goes right out the window, because you've got less than a 5-second difference, and if you're Nebraska, you're going to want to make sure that you don't give Indiana ample time to get down the floor and get set.
Entry pass kicked again. So you want to see Nebraska use up the shot clock here?
Yeah. And you can do that by reversing the basketball. When Nebraska was at their best offensively, the ball was moving, the personnel was moving. When they've gotten stagnant, it's played right into the hands of Indiana. So if you're the visitors in red, you have to make sure that you exercise both ends of sides of the floor.
Boy, Nebraska's had a tough time inbounding the ball from the baseline. A poor pass there, and now Indiana will get it back, and the shot clock is off. 29.1 to play.
Yeah, and that pass to Webster was kind of in that no man's land between a straight-up chest pass and a bounce pass. It was just barely above his shoe tops.
Now Newkirk to Morgan with 9. Here's Blackman with 6. Doesn't go. The tap, no. Jacobson the rebound with 2. And Morrow got it off, and it will not count. And that'll do it for the first 20 in Bloomington. Indiana with a 12-1 run to end the half. Hoosiers trailed by as many as 12, but lead by 3 at the break, 36-33. Robert Johnson with 13 points with 3 first-half fouls as well. Entertaining start here on Beat.
Appropriate that our Bass Pro Shop in the net is of the catch and release variety.
Oh, look at you. Look at you. Those production meetings, they pay off, I tell you. Few things get by you.
The 2-3 zone still being employed by Indiana. This really stymied Nebraska offensively. They were able to utilize the dribble drive and post feeds when Indiana was in the man-to-man, but once they went to this zone defense, it paid dividends.
Jacobson, no. The tap up and in for Morrow. How key, considering how the first half ended, the first few minutes of the second half for Nebraska.
They have to come out, especially on this end of the floor, and not allow easy baskets and allow Indiana to push the pace.
Robert Johnson, 13 points, 3 fouls. He'll drive. It's rejected by Morrow. Comes out to Blackman. Now the lead for Bryant. He's hit and one.
Kind of similar to what we saw at the start of the game, Corey. Remember at the beginning of the game when Morrow came in, when it looked like Bryant was just going to score and he gave the foul needlessly. Here it's Jacobson. It starts with an outstanding job by Morrow, just climbing the ladder and sending it back, but Indiana doesn't panic. Now, you just got to let him score. You're not going to block that. You're just not going to do it.
Made that point early in the first half as well. Bryant got so deep inside, and a foolish foul for Nebraska. Anunoby and one. So the Hoosiers all over the glass inside. It was Bryant the first time. Now Anunoby at the line for a three-point attempt.
Indiana leads the conference in the country at plus 15 rebounding margin, and if you don't pinch, and they don't pinch on Anunoby, and then he breaks contact, doesn't become a spectator, and is able to get to the rim. Nice job by Anunoby of not becoming a spectator.
Foul on Jacobson. He's got three. Webster for three. It's an air ball. And now Blackman. Quickly up the floor, end-to-end. Nobody stopped James Blackman Jr.
And Corey, not just was it a bad shot, it was an early bad shot. And that poor decision, a rare one for the senior Webster, essentially served as an outlet pass for Indiana.
Tom Crane asking the Hoosier fans to get on their feet and get loud. Jacobson got away with one there. Looked like he shoved off Bryant. Meanwhile, Turner is fouled. I beg your pardon, Taylor. Evan Taylor, the junior from Cincinnati. And that's Robert Johnson's fourth foul. So Johnson, he's been so good offensively, but now picks up his fourth foul, not even 90 seconds into the second half.
Scramble situation, yeah, there's no question.
Bounce inside, nice. Jacobson, Webster. Wide open three.
Beautiful job of probing with the feed, and then Jacobson kicking it right back out. Nice execution by Nebraska against the zone.
There's three tonight for Webster. He's got 11. Morrow another block. And now Juwan Morgan with the foul. 5 blocks now for Ed Morrow, the sophomore from Chicago. 6'7", 234.
He's one of the most improved players in the conference. Leads the conference in offensive rebounds per outing at about 4 per game. Averages 8 rebounds per game overall.
Out of a foot injury last year.
Good job by Jacobson again, getting in the gut of the defense. Doing a nice job is the sophomore Jacobson.
Now Watson will drive, swatted away by Bryant. Jacobson lost it. Blackman, the crossover on Taylor. Now the skip out to Newkirk.
Well, the bigs do such a good job when they catch it on one side of the floor. If they don't have a post move, immediately looking weak side for the pitch pass.
Isaiah Roby will check back in for Nebraska at the next whistle. 7 to shoot, Newkirk. Now Bryant with 4, lets the 3 fly. It's short. A good sequence that time for Nebraska defensively. Here's Taylor. Couldn't finish. Anunoby goes up high for the rebound, and he gets tangled up with Morrow. And DJ Carstenson's going to separate the two, and the crowd loving the effort from Anunoby.
That was a man-sized rebound in traffic by number 3, OG Anunoby. This is how you get a rebound in traffic. Not one hand, 2 hands. You snatch it, you hold on to it, and if need be, take the shoulder of your opposition with you. But a really, really strong rebound in traffic by Anunoby.
Foul on Nebraska's Michael Jacobson. He has 4. Play halted right now, 17:03.
I think they're trying to confirm that the foul was assessed to the right player.
Tom Eads and Bo Borowski over the scores table to take a look.
Everyone may be sitting at home saying, hey, what's the big deal about going up with 2 hands? You have to do that in traffic. How many times, Corey, do you see a guy in a similar situation that Anunoby found himself in, they go up with one hand, and it either careens off the other hand and goes out of bounds. They try to snatch it rather than go up with two hands. And watch what Anunoby does here. I mean, that's just two hands. That's a man-sized rebound. That's how you do it.
Foul for the time being is on Michael Jacobson again, his fourth.
It's got to be on Morrow, though, right?
Yeah, Morrow was in there as well.
That was a good job by the Nebraska bench of calling that to the attention of the officials to make sure that the foul was assessed properly.
Now, Friday night on BTN, an intriguing matchup in East Lansing as Michigan State plays host to Northwestern, coming off a nice win. And State College yesterday, coverage at 6 Eastern Friday night on BTN and streaming live at BTN to go. They kept the foul on Jacobson, so he's still on the bench with 4. As Bryant squares up Morrow. Now Blackman, deep 3. Anunoby, another strong rebound, and his follow is rejected by Roby, but a foul.
How quickly does he get off the floor? I mean, he doesn't need a running start. He doesn't even need a gather step. And Anunoby is off the floor. And more importantly, again, not one hand, 2 hands. I'll take that. Thank you very much.
Foul is on Morrow, his second. Indiana's missed now 3 straight free throws. As a team tonight, the Hoosiers only 8 attempts. They're 4 of 8. Nebraska, meanwhile, 4 of 7. All 7 attempts at the line have come from Webster. Anunoby splits 2.
And that'll be
5.
And that'll be an area of improvement that he'll continue to work on. Anunoby, 56% from the stripe on the year. And again, Indiana into that 2-3 zone. And this is where they missed Jacobson. Remember, Corey, he was the guy that was getting in between the 2 lines of defense and forcing Indiana to react defensively.
Now that's Roby. He comes out, catches high. Watson for 3, and it goes for Glenn Watson Jr. His second 3, he's got 10.
And a nice job by Roby of getting rid of it very, very quickly on the ball reverse.
Here's Juwan Morgan driving, and it goes off the glass. Juwan Morgan, he battled injury last year. First points tonight. Dante Green, big 3 in the first half. He's on the floor for Indiana as James Blackman Jr. will come out. And the Motorist Insurance Group drive to the hoop.
And a nice job by Morgan of putting his shoulder to the rim. You saw the shot blocker Morrow coming over there, just not able to get to it in time.
There's Roby at the elbow. Nice. He has an open lane.
Good job by Roby of making himself available and then understanding that the white jerseys didn't rotate and he made him pay.
And Anunoby had it stripped out of bounds. They'll stay with Indiana with 15:50 to play. In the game, the Hoosiers led by 3 at halftime. Tim Miles, his team down 2 on the road on BTN. Indiana, good one tonight here on BTN. Michael Lewis, former Indiana guard, a member of Tim Miles' staff at Nebraska. Terrific career, playing under Bobby Knight. Second all-time in assists up the floor. Watson got free, and we're tied at 45. Only Yogi Ferrell more assists in Indiana basketball history. Michael Lewis second.
Lewis in one game, Corey, had 15 helpers.
It's time for the single game record with Keith Smart. And that shot will not count. There is Michael Lewis, who told us today he came back here a few years ago as a member of Butler's coaching staff. 5 or 6 years ago, he walked around, as did many, including us. Now the renovations, Assembly Hall, beautiful job. $40 million, took roughly 18 months. Good defense there from Webster. Watson to bounce to the basket, off the glass, and 1 for Evan Taylor.
Now you compare that play by Taylor, the junior college transfer, that's experience. Watch what he does to the shot blocker in transition. Watch what he does with that inside shoulder. Boom, I'm going to put my shoulder right to the rim. You compare that with the freshman Shimanga earlier in this half. Taylor, you're you're going to have to go through me. Nice job. Chance for the and one for the junior college transfer, Evan Taylor.
Hey, think about Taylor, too. If Andrew White stays, there's no guarantee that Taylor is even with the Nebraska program. Opened up a spot. And upon losing White late, Tim Miles knew he needed some scoring, and they still had Taylor on their radar. But once White left, they made a collective decision. Hey, let's act quickly, and they signed him within 10 days.
And not only can he score, but last time out for Nebraska contributed 4 steals, and Nebraska showing a little bit of a 1-3-1 here, a different set. And you see right now, especially with Johnson on the bench, Corey, they're kind of struggling to figure out what to do against it.
Johnson 4 fouls on the bench. Blackman's going to check back in at the next whistle. Green to bounce. Inside it goes. Davis muscles up. No, there's Bryant.
But
Bryant with 9.
It starts with the post feed. And even though they weren't able to score initially, what that did is it forced the red jerseys. They turned and watched. No one puts a body on Bryant, and he completes.
Watson from the corner for 3.
And I tell you what, how about the job that Roby has done? Really good job by Isaiah Roby of getting in the middle of the defense and then making a quick passing decision. Gets in the gut, right there, boom. Then he kicks it to Watson, who's able to knock into it, but a really smart, savvy play coming to a jump stop by the freshman Isaiah Roby, and then he leads Watson right into the shooting motion.
Now, there was a whistle. The 3-point shot counts for Watson, but Ed Morrow was just charged with his 3rd foul. And he comes out for Nebraska. Jordy Chimanga takes his spot.
And this is where, if you're Indiana, you got to take advantage. You got to go inside.
And Davis, they did. So much strength against the freshman Roby.
Because not only is Morrow on the bench, you also have Jacobson, 2 of your starting frontline players from Nebraska on the pine right now in foul trouble.
Here's Chimanga against Bryant. Has it rejected by Davis. He's been active on both ends, Deron Davis. Second block.
Good post feed by Chimanga, but he takes himself underneath the rim. Good wall up by Bryant, and then Davis comes over and cleans up the mess. Davis has given them a nice lift on both ends of the floor tonight.
Davis set a state record in Colorado throughout his prep career, more than 440 career blocks. Webster walked. Thought he had a chance to shoot that initially, but instead, he turned it over.
And that was a set play. He came off a stagger screen, Corey. They were able to get him the basketball, but he just wasn't able to get his feet set and go into the shooting motion. Now, if you're Indiana, you need to get another post touch, either with Davis or Bryant.
So the turnover numbers for both teams, 12 for Indiana, 9 now on Nebraska.
Good repost.
And to get back to Blackman in traffic, and turnover number 13. It's a 3-on-1, now a 3-on-2. Watson pulls up, no. And it's going to be a whistle and a foul inside on Jawan Morgan.
Even though he doesn't convert, that's the smart play in transition by Watson, Corey. If he tries to take that all the way to the rim, it's going to get erased. But he stops with a jump stop mid-range, and that allowed his teammates to run the opposite wing and get to the glass.
The first foul on Morgan. And the 4th on Indiana. Webster again. Now, we mentioned that magic number for Nebraska. When they hit the 3, that is now 7 made threes tonight. When they hit at least 6, they're 6-1. 5 or less, they're 0-5. And now they've hit 7. Webster having a big night. He's up to 14 points, and we have a timeout.
And the big run started. Remember the last media timeout? Indiana comes out with a turnover. That gave Glenn Watson and his teammates from Nebraska some confidence, and they certainly have played off that. Ty Webster getting it done, and Tim Miles loving it on the road.
Welcome back to Assembly Hall. Corey Provis, Sean Morris, producer Brian Carter, director Andrew Blaustein, and our great crew. Happy holidays. Great one tonight as Roby pushes Bryant into the Indiana bench and picks up a second foul.
Yeah, and that just, if you're Coach Tim Miles, you're doing your Nancy Kerrigan right now going, why? Why? Where is Thomas Bryant going to go? You've got him hemmed in on the sideline. You've done your job. Don't reach in.
And that's going to put Indiana now at the line the rest of the night. It's a 1-1 here for Thomas Bryant. Bryant now 2 of 3 at the line.
Even though that was a little bit of a mental breakdown by Isaiah Roby, he has been really good here in the second half and finding the seams against that zone defense being employed by the Indiana Hoosiers.
And Roby in that spot with Michael Jacobson on the bench and 4 fouls. Now Johnson on the bench with 4 fouls. And Indiana back to his zone.
Yep, 2-3 zone, and Roby has to fill the role that was utilized by Jacobson and getting in there in that Big Ten logo area and forcing the defense to collapse and react. Nice job of getting to the high post.
And he tried to swing it instead. Anunoby with the steal. From behind, though, Watson hustling. Picked his pocket.
Really good job by Watson of not giving up on the play.
Webster picked up his dribble. Dangerous spot. The kick out to Taylor. Against Bryant. Now a great bounce, and Roby goes high. The freshman goes up and slams it down. He's got 6.
Nice
Bryant
pass.
with a nice no-look bounce. It was knocked out there. Will stay with Indiana.
Good team defense. They slow up Anunoby just enough. Webster's back. The steal leads to this sequence. Beautiful bounce pass. And look where that pass went. It went right into the numbers for Roby. He didn't have to reach down. His momentum, he was able to utilize it because of the excellent delivery on the bounce.
It was Jones fouled. Defended that time by Watson on a Hall play with 12:06 to go.
And really good
on Watson.
And a good job, Corey, by the senior Webster of pulling aside the freshman Shimanga, telling him to calm down. Hey, don't worry. Hold down the minutes here. You're doing a good job and not allowing the freshman to kind of flounder.
There is Chimanga.
He's going to be a nice player, Corey, because he's got the one thing that no coach or no one can give anybody. He cares and he wants to get better.
Jones now 14 of 17 at the free throw line. Freshman from Richmond, Virginia. Played with Thomas Bryant at Huntington Prep in West Virginia. And he makes 2. 4-point game.
Now Indiana has gotten out of that zone defense, going a little bit of a switching man-to-man.
Webster goes back door off the glass. It'll count and 1. A blocking foul inside.
Watch away from the basketball on the ball reversal. As Webster hits the floor hard, he's able to convert. With the jab step, he takes his defender all the way out to the three-point line, then utilizes the defensive intensity against. When he comes back, a chance for the and 1. Nebraska up 6.
6-point game, Nebraska 58-52 over Indiana. Let's take a look at tonight's tire rack expert analysis. We go back to the Roby dunk shot a moment ago.
2 players off the bench. Evan Taylor. Now watch right here. Anunoby, number 3, gets caught watching the basketball, and the freshman Isaiah Roby dives to the rim, and Evan Taylor, an excellent delivery. What that pass was, Corey, it was above the numbers, which allowed the freshman to catch and utilize his momentum going to the rim for the strong finish. Roby showing you why. He's 3 of 3 from the floor tonight, and Evan Taylor also giving some quality minutes off the bench for Coach Tim Miles.
So Ty Webster at the line, shooting 1. The foul in Indiana, Zach McRoberts, his first. Webster with 16 points to lead Nebraska. And he is now 4 of 8 at the line tonight.
A bit of a 2-3 look. Switching man-to-man. A little matchup. Really good job of moving the feet thus far in this sequence by Nebraska.
Blackman gives it back to Jones with 8. And a bounce pass deflected. It comes to Morgan. He brought it low, lost it, still loose, and now a whistle, and with the shot clock expiring, a foul will be called on Nebraska.
And Indiana gets bailed out for a couple of reasons. One, when the foul occurs, the shot clock's at 1, but they also did a really good job of keeping Indiana on one side of the floor. They never reversed the basketball. Now, if you just maintain verticality here, I don't think Morgan's going to be able to get that thing up to the rim in time, and Watson bails him out.
So Juwan Morgan shooting 2. Morgan now at 3 points. .79% at the line. As this place gets awfully quiet.
Except for that.
Except for the screen.
Yeah. They must have seen your glamour shot, Corey. They just couldn't restrain themselves. Yeah.
Uriah Horn back on the floor for Nebraska. He had the hot hand for a brief period in the first half. The lob, Chimanga falling out of bounds. He found Roby and Webster to Watson. Shot clock at 7.
Good job. Good recovery by Blackman defensively. Really good job.
Horn gets it. Oh, and it goes. His third 3 tonight. He's got 11.
I tell you what, Blackman did a really good job of recovering and getting out there, but a better job offensively by Horn.
Uriah Horn coming off an 18-point game, a career best last time out in the win over Southern. Double figures off the bench again tonight. The lead up to 8, and this is going the other way.
I think they got Bryant.
And that's number 3 on Thomas Bryant.
You know, and Blackman, look where he is. Chest up. That's just a tough shot by Horn. I mean, the rhythm dribble and the step back, because Blackman had done about 95% of what you need to do other than complete the defensive sequence. Good offensive delivery by Horn.
See the 3-point shooting, the numbers for Nebraska. Much better here in the second half. Roby thought about it. He'll drive, try to dunk over Bryant, the miss, and Morgan goes down, and he is in pain.
And this is a guy that's had shoulder problems in the past. I don't think there's anything malicious there by Chimanga.
It was the left shoulder and a foot injury last year, and Sean, he's grabbing that left shoulder.
Let's take a look at it, because he might have gotten, yep, oh, that's a yank. They could be looking at a flagrant 1 there. They'll go and take a look at it.
That says it all right there.
You can see right there the grab, and Morgan had started to go up, so his momentum got used against him by Chimanga. Now that's just a tough fall, obviously, by Morgan. You know what? It's hard to get inside somebody's head, but I don't think there's anything malicious there by Chimanga. He just was trying to locate Morgan, and Morgan had already gone into his jumping motion, and then that pull utilized his momentum against him.
Well, DJ Carstensen and Bo Borowski at the scores table, and we're going to bring Tom Eads over as well. So based on what you've seen, does that warrant a flagrant 1?
I'm going to be surprised if it's not, just because of how violent it was. But take a look at it in real time. And the most important thing, forget about whether it's a flagrant 1 or whatever they call it. You just feel for the young man on the floor. I mean, this is a guy that has been battling in there all night, was injured for periods of time last year.
He is heading right for the locker room. Tough kid. Juwan Morgan.
Yeah, in addition to some shoulder problems, he's also battling foot injuries.
Well, Bo Borowski kind enough. He's going to walk over and tell us what the officials have determined. So 10-12 to play in the game. It's a 61-53 Nebraska lead. As Sean and Bo Borowski ended their chat, what's the call?
It is being called a flagrant 1, not an ejection caliber. Yep. So what will happen now?
You know, DJ Carsonson's going to walk over and just make sure that we have all the information.
Yeah, it's a flagrant one. So
now this is Jordy Chimanga. He's applauding Juwan Morgan walking off the floor. And but go ahead. What's the call?
yeah, so Indiana will shoot 2 on the foul on Chimanga, and because Morgan went out with an injury, they could select anyone they wanted, and obviously they're going to check James Blackman at 83% because it was an injury situation.
All right, so there's the flagrant.
And then it'll be Indiana's ball now going this way.
So remember this point of the game. An emotional turnaround, perhaps. We'll see how these next few minutes play out.
And what it forced Coach Tim Miles to do is he probably had to go back tomorrow a little bit quicker than he wanted. And in answer, Robert Johnson looks like he's at the scorer's table right now for Indiana, coming up on the 10-minute mark.
Here's Bryant inside against Morrow, playing with 3 fouls. Up and under Bryant. Wild shot. McRoberts the tap, no. And it's Roby clearing. Up the floor, it's Webster. Blackman getting back. Webster got it to go. Back come the Hoosiers. Bryant.
Good job of blowing up by Roby.
Blackman contested 3. Jones the offensive rebound.
Nice extra pass by McRoberts.
Blackman again.
That's why McRoberts is in there. How quickly did he get that ball out of his hands and locate the shooter, Blackman? Wonderful job by McRoberts.
Blackman into double figures. He's got 12. Subs coming for both teams at the next whistle. Here's Watson, no-look pass. Morrow hit. It'll roll off the rim, and Morrow will shoot 2.
Nice little 2-man game between Watson and Morrow.
And McRoberts and Watson, those two were jawing a little bit after the contact.
Yeah, and a really good job by DJ Carsonson to stepping in there before things escalated unnecessarily. But back to the play, Watson doing a good job of keeping the dribble alive, and Indiana really trying to ratchet up the defensive intensity. Morrow utilized that against them, diving to the rim, and Watson found it.
So Morrow shooting 2. 62% free throw shooter. And the first one goes. There is Robert Johnson. Now, if you're Nebraska, you know the numbers. What do you do offensively with Johnson on the floor when he's out there defensively?
If they're in the man-to-man, which they've done the last couple of times, you try to go at him right away, especially if he's guarding Webster the next time that they come down the floor. But I'm not going to be surprised to see Indiana stick with that 2-3 zone and maybe try to hide defensively Johnson here, keep him in there with those 4 fouls. Well, Morrow, Bryant really battled. Good job by Morrow getting low.
And Bryant has it. Bryant along the baseline. And 1. Bryant went 12.
And Indiana made a concerted effort to get the ball down to Bryant, and Bryant called for it. Then they clear out that side of the floor so that you can't have the double team. And watch what he does. He keeps that pivot foot anchored to the floor. That allows him then to step through, go up, and deliver.
4th foul on Ed Morrow. So Jordy Chimanga returns for Nebraska as Morrow will sit those 4 fouls. 5 blocks as well for Morrow tonight. But he and Jacobson right next to him on his right, both seated with 4 fouls. So Bryant at the line shooting 1. He's 2 of 4 at the line tonight. Indiana's won 26 straight at home, the 4th longest home winning streak in the country as Roby throws it into the seats, but it was tipped by Indiana. 17 to shoot.
And Indiana right now really turning up the defensive juice. Thus far in this possession, Corey, Nebraska hasn't been able to penetrate the three-pointer.
Webster had it stripped and was touched by Indiana. 9 to shoot.
Again, if you're Indiana, you can't lose sight of the trigger man, Webster.
been a challenge at times for Nebraska to get the ball in, and now a slip and a turnover. Newkirk keeps the ball alive. Blackman for three. Bryant the rebound, straight down a foul. And Webster knew it.
That's what Indiana loves to do. The miscue, they kick the ball up the floor. And going back about 15 or 20 years, the player on that side of the floor, Blackman, would have been coached to go to the rim and get a layup. Now, the way the game has evolved, he fans out to that left wing. Good delivery by Newkirk. They're not able to find him, but Nebraska not able to get situated defensively, and a strong rebound in traffic by Bryant.
So Bryant, a friendly roll. First one goes. Glenn Watson returns for Nebraska, as does Michael Jacobson with 4 fouls.
And this is a nice situational substitution by Indiana. They get Johnson out as they go back on defense. So they had him down here offensively. They're going to try to save him here as we come up on the next media timeout. Don't need to get that 5th one cheaply.
Bryant, 14 points. It's a 2-point game. 8:09 to play.
Good strong hedge by Bryant.
Watson up top, and it goes. Glenn Watson Jr. with 18 points, his 4th 3 tonight. What an answer for the Huskers.
Well, they forced him out deep. That's just a strong delivery by Watson.
Nebraska's hit 9 threes tonight, 9 of 15.
If I'm Indiana, I'm going to try to get a touch again inside to Bryant. That's paid dividends for him. And Jacobson in there with 4 fouls.
Now Bryant is out high. And Anobi for 3 from the wing. His second 3, and Anobi with 10. Not a bad way to start Big Ten basketball here on BTN.
No, sir. Both teams playing with a great deal of energy and effort.
Horn, too strong. Webster, the tap to Bryant. Indiana with a 3 could take the lead.
Good screen by Bryant.
Newkirk for the tie.
What a good job by Bryant of coming up and setting a solid screen, and a nice job by Newkirk of waiting until he situated himself.
Tim Miles, sorry, Sean, is going to ask for a timeout, a 30-second timeout. Assembly Hall. Rocking here tonight. Indiana has rallied to tie it at 68. Now Juwan Morgan is back on the bench. You can see that left shoulder all taped up. He left the game with 10-12 to play. Since then, Indiana on a 15-7 run. 6 lead changes, 5 ties. Webster nearly lost it.
I mean, Anunoby, he covers so much ground laterally.
Watson, difficult 3, fell off. And Indiana with the ball. It's Bryant inside. He's hit by Horn before the shot. Still 2 free throws upcoming. Indiana in the double bonus as Jariah Horn missed the personal foul, sending Bryant back to the line for 2 more.
But if you're Horn and you're going to give the foul, that is the time to do it. Don't wait until Bryant catches and goes into his shooting motion. The shot fake got him up in the air, and he came down before Bryant was able to rise up.
Indiana led 49-48 with 14-12 on the clock. Bryant pushed the Hoosiers on top by 1. Roby in, Horn out. Thomas Bryant now 6 of 8 at the line. 16 points to lead the Hoosiers.
And 17 offensive rebounds for Indiana have led to 22 second chance points, allowing them to overcome 15 turnovers and 16 points off those miscues for the Huskers.
Offensive foul, Roby. Used his arms to clear space. As Indiana will get it back, leading by 2.
And conversely, the defender, Blackman, did a very good job of keeping his hands up. And there was no traffic to obscure the view of the official there. So when Roby's trying to dislodge Blackman, Blackman didn't bite by putting his hands on him. He kept him up.
Third foul on Roby. Anunoby scoring up the freshman. Anunoby on the drive, rejected by Roby. Here comes the freshman from behind Newkirk. Roby had it blocked. The tip is there for Jacobson on the foul.
Nice job by Jacobson of not giving up on the play and running the floor.
Thomas Bryant kind of grabbing at his right hand a little bit. He's telling the Indiana bench he's all right.
Yeah, he was up there high to block that shot. You wonder, Corey, if he might have hit it on the backboard or maybe even the rim.
Bryant's been terrific tonight, grabbing at that right hand. Albert Johnson back on the floor for Indiana again with 4 fouls.
You might see some situational substitutions with Johnson in those 4 fouls to get him in offensively and try to hide him defensively if you can.
Right now, Taylor picks him up defensively. The junior college transfer. Johnson spinning, lost it, loose on the floor, picked up by Jacobson.
Really good job by Taylor of moving his feet. Really nice job.
The 16th Indiana turnover. That's their average. 16 per game, highest in the Big Ten. Under 5 to play. Webster throws it away.
Nice job by Johnson of honoring the scouting report.
13th Nebraska turnover. Blackman had it stripped by Taylor. Taylor got hit in the face. Johnson open for 3 in the lead.
Yeah, he inadvertently got poked in the eye. Did a really good job, did Taylor, of utilizing his hands as Blackman went into the shooting motion. And then in the scramble situation, when Blackman went to reach to recover the basketball, he inadvertently got Taylor. Now watch Taylor's hands here. And then when he tries to recover, right there, completely inadvertent by Blackman. It's easy for me to say because Taylor's the one that took with the finger in the eye, but nothing malicious there, and that led to a 5-on-4 offensive opportunity for Indiana, and they delivered.
Meanwhile, Robert Johnson with his 4th 3 tonight, 16 points as Taylor will head to the bench. Looked at.
And after that, yeah.
DJ Carstensen walking over towards us, and inadvertent is what DJ is telling us, and no flagrant.
Yeah, and they've done a great job. We thought it was inadvertent, and that's certainly what they found after they took a look at the replay. And then you mentioned it. Johnson knocked down the 3. Now, on the dead ball situation, we talked about situational substitutions. Johnson now can go to the bench on the defensive end of the floor and spare him the possibility of getting that 5th foul.
Robert Johnson has made 10 threes his last 2 games. Watson against Bryant, trying to beat him off the dribble, shoots over him well short. And here comes Bryant with the ball across the line. It's from behind. It's tipped away by Watson. And now Webster driving on Blackman, got away with a walk and lays it in. Looked like he traveled, but play continued, and Webster has the Huskers within 1.
And that might have been a situation where the ball got jarred loose on the reach in, and he didn't have control when he took that extra step. We'll have a chance to take a look at that on the replay.
Under 4 to play. Now Blackman with 5, has to hurry. Deep heave up top. Blackman. Too strong. Bryant's tap into the hands of Jacobson.
And a good block out by Morrow. Really good job by Morrow.
15's 2 timeouts remaining. 3:20 and counting.
Davis and Johnson at the scorers table for Indiana.
10 days ago, Nebraska lost a home game to Gardner-Webb. Watson and 1. 10 days later, they lead the 16th ranked team in the country by 1. So Watson will shoot 1 when we come back. It's a 1-point game.
has allowed, or forced rather, Coach Tom Crean to do some situational substitutions, getting him in offensively and then getting him off defensively. And this is really an awkward looking play. The ball at first appearance looks like it got jarred loose. Awkward completion, but Webster's able to convert.
As Watson completes the three-point play. Watson with 21. Webster, by the way, with 20. His career high is 23. And the lead back to 2. Anunoby from way up top. Still being battled for as Jacobson was out of bounds.
How about Jacobson giving up his body? Because if he's able to knock that in, that long shot and long carom could have served as an outlet pass. Watch Jacobson. You got guys reaching for it. He goes down on the deck. No question he rolled out of bounds, but you can't fault the effort of the big guy from Waukee, Iowa.
You like getting that Waukee, Iowa reference in, don't you?
Oh, hey, you got to talk about God's country. It's not Altoona, but it's in the same general area.
James Blackman Jr. will come back in at the next whistle. And Green throws it away. He and Anunoby not on the same page. 18th Indiana turnover as Tom Crean up and down the sideline a bit.
And that puts them at -5 in the turnover margin in this individual game, kind of where they've been all year, Corey, at -4 turnover margin for the season thus far, last in the conference. This is where Webster just has to go and get the ball.
Two and a half to play. Watson under 10. Guarded by Johnson. Off the glass, no. Jacobson off the tap. Puts it up. That's too strong. And there's Morrow. Still battling inside. Ed Morrow Jr. has 10.
And how about Jacobson keeping it alive to allow Morrow to come over and finalize the play?
The kick out. Newkirk open for 3. Rattled around and in. His first three-point attempt tonight. He has 9. It's a one-point game. Watson against Johnson.
Good job by Johnson. Good help by Bryant. Now Johnson, bear in mind, number 4 has 4 fouls.
Watson deep 3. Off the back iron. Morrow offensive follow is there.
Showing you why he leads the conference in offensive rebounds per outing. Came in averaging 4 offensive rebounds, has doubled that tonight.
Over his last 6 games, period, Morrow is averaging nearly 10 boards per game. Back-to-back putbacks for Morrow. Blackman with 10.
Good job by Webster. Really good job by Webster.
Now Bryant inside, rejected, but first to foul. With 64 seconds to play, Thomas Bryant at the line shooting 2.
Ed Morrow, you don't put a body on him, he's going to make you pay. Up, under. Really wonderful job on the offensive glass, not only tonight, but all season for the sophomore from Chicago.
Morrow has now fouled out.
And because he has to go to the bench, that forces Coach Tim Miles in Nebraska to go smaller. And there's still a lot of time in here. So with Morrow on the bench, you lose not only his offensive rebounding prowess, but his ability to battle Bryant down in the block. So regardless of what happens offensively on the other end for Nebraska, there's still plenty of time for the Hoosiers to go inside and take advantage.
Ed Morrow fouled out. Evan Taylor back on the floor for Nebraska. Number 11, he got poked in the eye a few minutes ago. Bryant 17 points, 10 rebounds, and he misses both, but there's Anunoby.
Second time that's happened because they didn't pinch on him.
This, Blackman. Too strong, Newkirk's tap, It's Johnson. He resets. He lets it fly. That's too long. Watson the rebound. Bothered by Newkirk. Blackman has it. This is for two. That didn't go. Anunoby with 45.1. It's a one-point game.
That whole sequence started with the equivalent of a breakdown in special teams. The second time that Anunoby's been able to get an offensive rebound in a foul line situation.
And a foul on Blackman. With 38.8 to play. That's his third. And a 9th team foul. So a 1-and-1 upcoming for Nebraska.
And Watson 87% from the line on the year. Going up the sideline. Wow, that's a tough one.
So it's going to be Ty Webster.
It's going to be Webster, yep.
He's 4 of 8 at the line tonight. This is a 1-and-1. Going back to the last sequence, how much of that was impacted with Morrow's 5th foul and the activity inside time after time for Indiana?
And the fact that when you have an athlete such as Anunoby, what I mean by the pinch, you can't just have the inside guy blocking him out. You need to have the other jersey coming down there and helping the primary. In that situation, it was Jacobson, but you have to have somebody come down and take away the athleticism of Anunoby, or he will make you pay, either directly or indirectly, as he did there.
So Morrow there on the right of your screen. He has fouled out Webster. This to make it a 3-point game. Can't do it. And Newkirk with the rebound. 30 seconds to play. Indiana down 2. Blackman for the tie. Spun out. Rebound to Roby, and he's fouled.
Well, they dodged one here, do the Huskers, because you could see Jacobson. He just had to fake at him, Corey, because he had 4 fouls. That allowed Blackman to get all the way to the rim, but it spins out on him. And big-time pressure foul shots for the freshman Isaiah Roby out of Dixon, Illinois.
Thomas Bryant, 4 fouls. That was team foul number 10. So 2 here for Roby. Game 2 coming up. Super Wednesday. Presented by Buffalo Wild Wings. Roby, the freshman, steps up as he knocks down the first of 2. Iowa and Purdue. Kevin Kugler, John Crispin have that for you next. Still a 1-possession game for now. Not anymore.
How about the play of that young man off the bench, Isaiah Roby, showing athleticism when needed and converting the most fundamental of plays, the foul shot. That's how you win games. The difference between winning and losing, Corey, the ability to execute the fundamentals under pressure.
Now we keep mentioning Ed Morrow, who has just fouled out, but not too long ago. Look at the action here. Time after time battling, and that's what he's been doing. That was a good serve from Tom Crean even before tonight.
And a nice job by Jacobson in that sequence of keeping it alive. But Morrow, we talked about it, 8 rebounds per ball game, almost half of those of the offensive variety, and he has surpassed that tonight, even though his night ended because of being disqualified with his 5th foul.
So 23.8 to play. Our Auto Owners Insurance game leaders, Bryant, 17. He's got 4 fouls. Ty Webster, 2 points of his career high. All right, Indiana down 4. What do they want to do here on this possession, Sean?
You know, you still have plenty of time. If you're Nebraska right now, you're going to try to force them side to side, because with almost 24 seconds to go, there's no need to come down and hoist up a quick 3. Get something going to the rim and force Indiana, or Nebraska rather, to defend you, but they force it into the corner.
And Newkirk throws it away. The steal for Nebraska, and Watson is fouled by Bryant. That's number 5. 14.7 to play. Nebraska by 4. Assembly Hall stunned right now.
And how about the job defensively, Corey, that Nebraska did of funneling Newkirk to the corner? You know, they knew he was going to try to attack the rim. Now they get over the top. That's a good job by Watson and an excellent job by Jacobson of closing in. So now Newkirk has not only the 2 primary defenders, but a couple of extra ones in the sideline and the end line hemming him in.
So Glenn Watson Jr. shooting 2.
That was a really good job defensively because there was no question Newkirk is going to try to turn the corner and get to the rim. Watson was able to fan him out just enough to allow Jacobson to recover, and then he fans out toward the corner too much, and when he picked up his dribble, he was in big trouble, and then Watson's able to snake in there and take away his only passing outlet, which is along the sideline here.
Nebraska 6-6. Purdue, Iowa coming up next. Watson shooting 2. Oh, misses the front end. Watson's played well, 21 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds. He's hit 4 threes.
Some token pressure here by Nebraska. They just want Indiana to have to burn some clock going east-west and not allow a direct line dribble.
Newkirk with 10. He will get to 2 with 9.2 in Indiana. Will call a timeout, leaving the Hoosiers with 1. So still a 1-possession game and 9.2 to play.
A little too easy if you're Nebraska there, Corey, because they didn't force him once he caught the ball in this corner. They didn't force him east-west. They let him to go north-south.
Let's check in quickly with Rick Peasley back in Chicago. Rick?
Well, Corey, thank you very much. We are underway in West Lafayette. No score right now between the Hawkeyes and Boilermakers. And, of course, as soon as the Huskers and Hoosiers finish things up in Bloomington, we'll send you to West Lafayette, where Purdue has taken an early 3-0 lead.
All right, Rick, thank you. Looking forward to Game 2 coming up here on Super Wednesday, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings. Nebraska next will be at Maryland on Sunday. Meanwhile, Indiana not done yet with non-conference play. A big game upcoming for the Hoosiers this weekend. Saturday, they'll take on Louisville in Indianapolis. And then Wisconsin here on January 3rd.
That is a tough stretch. And what they're doing right now, Corey, is they're going to make sure that they get the clock right, that the clock stops as soon as it goes through and clears the net.
So you see 9.2 was the initial clock read.
That's a good job by Newkirk of overcoming the previous possession and not hanging his head. He caught the ball in the left wing down here on their defensive end of the floor and was able to get up the floor extremely quickly offensively. Very important now, Corey, that Nebraska understands you can run the baseline off the make.
So Evan Taylor will throw it in. Moving around a little bit, and Watson gets free with 8 seconds, and Newkirk from behind will follow with 7.3. So you saw the graphic a moment ago, 26 consecutive home wins for Indiana here. The last time they lost a home game was the last game of the 2014-2015 season here to Michigan State.
Nice job by Taylor of understanding he could create space by running the baseline, and then Watson, as an 87% foul shooter, making sure that he came toward the basketball and giving the inbounder Taylor an outlet.
Robert Johnson, his time in the second half was limited due to foul trouble. Watson one more. And Glenn Watson Jr. steps up, knocks down 2 free throws, 5-point game, 7 seconds to go. Newkirk, Johnson with 2. That's for 3, and it goes, and they'll stop the clock with under 1 second. And it looks like Volkarovski made the indication that they may want to take a look to see if that was a 2 or a 3. For now, ruled a 3. So 9/10 of a second remaining, but the officials will see if that was a 2 or a 3. For now, ruled a 3.
Good job of running the wing. And what that, yeah, it's a 3. You want to make sure you get it right. I don't think there's any question that's a 3. But what Taylor did there, even though he didn't actively contest it, by coming out the way he did, he forced Johnson to burn a little bit more time, Corey, going to his left. He didn't give himself the opportunity to foul, but what he did do is give Johnson something to think about and burning a little bit of clock. Now, if you're Nebraska on the inbounds, again, you can run the inbounds And when in doubt, you want to make sure you've got somebody deep. Because as soon as someone, regardless of the team, touches the basketball, the clock stops. So if that is going to be the situation, you want to make sure that if Indiana is going to beat you with a desperation three, it's going to have to come from this side of the floor, not down here on their offensive end.
Been a rough go for Tim Miles since making the NCAA tournament a couple years ago, specifically in league play.
Yeah, they came in dead last in three-point shooting percentage. They got some timely three-point shooting tonight. They came in last in the Big Ten in scoring with 69 points per outing. They've surpassed that by 16 here. And defensively, they mixed things up enough, and they were able to get some production off the bench, which was timely.
Anunoby gets the arms up right in front of Taylor.
And they got Newkirk with a foul before the inbounds.
So Tom Crean. He's saying, Josh, why? With 9/10 of a second. So here is Watson. Two more. For Watson. He's at 5 of 6 at the line. He's up to 25 points. One more away from a stunning result. A 4-point game, 87-83. As Johnson throws it into the front court, and Anunoby the tap, and 10 days after losing a home game to Gardner-Webb, Nebraska stuns number 16 Indiana. The first home loss for the Hoosiers since March 7, 2014. College basketball, Big Ten basketball, go Fish.